work-life balancing. Good afternoon. I've been in front of my screen from 9 o'clock with a 30-minute break in between, going through different meetings, trainings, and workshops back to back. So if you find me incoherent, know that I am a victim of being on the screen today for a very, very long time. So welcome again for those of you who have made it to this discussion. This is our fifth webinar of this year. Today, we are going to have a discussion with Harriet. Harriet is a travel writer. And the topic of our discussion today is on travel writing, and we're looking at the challenges and opportunities that there are for sustainable tourism in today's travel writing. I will let Harriet introduce herself briefly, and then I will take it up from there, give some opening remarks, and we will begin our conversation. If you've been here before, you know that this is a conversation. We have a conversation with my co-hosts. So I'm not interviewing Harriet. We are co-hosting this discussion, and we are learning from her experiences because she's been practically in the field and writing. So if you're joining us for the first time, you know how you will put your questions. If you have any questions, you can put them down on the chat. Later on, there are questions that you asked in advance, and Michael will bring them up in the chat as well, so that we can go through them, and as much as possible, Harriet will try to address them. I'll quickly introduce the STTA team that is here. You can reach out to them on the chat for any help. There is Michael, who many of you have communicated with or got this communication from. We've got Dominic, who's also from STTA. And I think we got Raphael as well, who is also from STTA. Earlier on, I saw Tess, but maybe she has dropped off. So that is a team from our end. They will engage you. We encourage everyone to introduce themselves in the chat area. Yesterday, I was pleasantly surprised when I was attending an event and somebody came to me and said, you know, when you did your first webinar, I connected with someone on the chat and I asked them to mentor me. And we've been going through a mentorship since your first webinar. We're coming to the end of it. And that was really encouraging. And they said that they didn't know that it would be that useful, but they've been mentored because one of our I think that was the fourth webinar, no, the third one, where we had the two young women entrepreneurs. So they are actually mentoring other entrepreneurs. They connected and they're mentoring. So this is also a place for connection. People say in the chat who they are and what you're doing. And if you find anything interesting from somebody else, you can connect with them. So please go ahead and introduce yourself so that we can not just know you by name, but also know where you are from, your country, which segment of tourism or which industry you are at. If you have any questions of interest from today's discussion, kindly let us know in the chat so that we don't miss out on what you would like to share. So I will let Harriet. Harriet, you got 2 minutes to introduce yourself. As you do that, I will open my 2 slides of PowerPoints, and then I will continue. We will continue with the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy, for the opportunity to actually be here and connect with all of you. You gave me 2 minutes. I don't know if my CV is that long. So my name is Harriet Owalla. I'm a travel writer. I've been doing this for the past 8 years. This is the 8th year. I've written in a number of publications, both both local, starting with People's Daily, and then international as well. And it's how, I don't know whether I should also like continue on with how I started with travel writing and everything.
Yeah, sure.
So I actually started travel writing by accident. Like I didn't grow up saying that I will be a writer, but I wanted to be a doctor at first. And then after my university studies, there was no work, but I used to write. So that's how I just continued writing, and also I used to help my auntie out with her tourism business. My auntie was still does tourism consultancy by up to date. So I used to just help her out. I never knew anything on tourism until I started helping her out, and it came much later during I was employed in a wedding sort of media house. So that was like in 2014, I think. And I was their staff writer. So there we just used to do wedding destinations, and then there was this fun trip on just writing about wedding destinations in Africa, in not in Africa, in Kenya. KTB had chosen our media house to do that because we covered a lot of weddings and honeymoon destinations. And I think that's when my passion to write on travel, that's where it began, because I was here with other journalists, covering stories on like visiting destinations and just writing about them. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds like fun at that time. Yeah. So so that's, and then in that trip I met a travel editor for the travel editor for People's Daily, who actually, that was the first mentor, that was the first baptism, into travel writing that I encountered, because now he started teaching me from scratch how a journalist behaves in farm trips. Like, he was more like my father in that whole trip. And then he told me that he is the travel editor for People's Daily, and I'd always wanted to write in the newspaper. Like, I just always wanted. So when I just had editor, like, I was like, please, can I just write? Like, even if you guys are not going to pay me, just let me just write. And then he was like, I'll think about it. And then and then later on, he just told me, let's start with this trip. You just share your travel experiences on this trip. So that was, now People's Daily became now my first launch into travel writing and what travel journalism entails. And it has been a learning process up to date. Now expanding to other publications. Once now you've started knowing the ropes and everything. And now here I am 8 years later.
Oh, wonderful. And I know I have met other writers who are not from a tourism, travel writers who are not from a tourism background. And it tells us something about the history of travel writing. I was trying to read the history of travel writing, and I found that travel writing emerged after the Second World War. When people who were returning, people who had gone to fight in the wars, who were writing, started documenting their experiences, and it was not easily acceptable as writing. Yeah, in mainstream, in media at that particular time. And yeah, I wouldn't say the whole story, but if you find time, if you're here, please go and try and read the history of travel writing. It's a very interesting one, and we can see why we are where we are today. And in the process of doing my homework, came out across this why travel writing, an overview of travel writing, what it can do for the tourism industry. And I picked out in my basic research that travel writing for today, it is being used particularly storytelling, which you will tell us a little bit about later on, what's the difference. Storytelling is being used as a tool for sustainable tourism management. And that's very interesting because in the early days of travel writing was just about exposing destinations and their potential to travelers. And that's the primary one. I believe the primary objective or goal of travel writing is just to expose destinations' potential to travelers. You can know that these places exist, right? Yeah. Then it's that one is closely related to my next bullet that says that travel writing as a destination marketing tool, right? So it exposes the destinations to travelers, but it also just talks generally about a place and the things that are found in the place. But travel writing can also be used to support tourism growth. And we'll discuss this. Particularly, it can support diversification of tourism. If it is managed properly, travel writing can send people to new places, to unvisited places. Because if we continue writing about the already popular places, we'll actually be promoting over tourism to these places. But conscious travel writing can redistribute visitors, and support tourism growth by diversifying it into other places. Today, what has emerged from travel writing into storytelling, we also learned that we can conclude that travel writing can build destination identities.
Yes, it can.
If you want to be known as the once in a year annual migration destination, your writing will tell people that you are in a once in a year migration destination, and everybody will scramble to come at that particular time because through your writing and what travel writers are putting out there, it looks like that is what the whole destination is all about. If you keep using one image of a destination, particularly a people, like Destination Kenya, and all our travel information and images are from one pastoral community, then people think, I have traveled and I've been asked, are you Maasai? Because that's all they know, that we are all. Can you stand on one leg? Can you jump? Yeah, because that's what we expose when we go to WTM. We got Maasai standing on one leg with a spear, and they think we're all. Travel writing builds destinations identity. These things are just telling us the diversity of travel writing, which is what you're going to indulge us in the next few minutes as we go through our conversations. Last but not least, I just wanted to say that there's a case for conscious travel writing, right?
Yes.
Is there a case for conscious travel writing? Yes, there is a case because contemporary tourists are inclined more to experiencing, learning, and participating, right? And conscious travel writing will not just show and tell, but it will provide the deeper information through storytelling so that it can promote experiential visits, travel, learning, and participation by travelers, right?
Yes.
I already said that conscious travel writing can redistribute opportunities and diversify product offer in destination. And that marks the end of my presentation. And I will immediately jump onto my first question for you. I know we've used the term travel writing, you've also used it. If you could say what travel writing is in a sentence, what would you say?
I think travel writing is all about a person sharing their travel experiences in a destination. It can be they can be conscious or not conscious about anything. Whatever they share about that destination, either through blogs or publication or a book, that's travel writing. That's simply what it is.
Okay, so, that's a clear description of what travel writing is. Now, as a travel writer, whose voice are you representing or amplifying? And is it easy to represent several voices at the same time in one piece? Whose voices are you representing and amplifying?
So, for personally, as you can be a travel writer, and when you now include the journalistic aspect of it, in the rules of journalism, I'm supposed to have all the voices represented. Everyone needs to have their voice. Like, someone has the right to reply. Like, if I write about something and it affects someone else, that someone else has to say, why they are doing it, or it's true, of course. So as a journalist, I find myself uh not I must not lean on any side when I'm writing a story, to avoid, I just need to let every other voice speak for itself. Like, and be and have the fidelity to the truth. What is the truth in all this issue, in all this matter? What should we support? What should we not support? So that is where now the conflict comes in, because um, sometimes someone might say something that is really not contrary to, what is really happening, but because the journalistic rules say that they also have a right to respond, I find that I have to ask them their opinion on it, to now bring the balance, and to have now the wider, broader angle or the story on both sides. So for me, sometimes it's conflicting, I would say, because I'm supposed to remain unbiased, and I'm supposed to allow all the voices to have their voice, all the people to have their say on the, not say per se, but to just be represented. If it's someone who's doing something evil, they have to say why are they doing, like, and have all these counter arguments, so that we
Okay,
have
I'll ask a practical one at this point. If I'm
Okay.
writing about Masai Mara, and my story is 90% about the migration, 5% about the weather, another 4% about the infrastructure, the lodges, and then 2% about the people. Is that a balanced voice?
No, it's not a balanced voice. But again, it depends on I've now gotten the point. It also depends on what the editor assigns. Now, that too also comes as a factor. What does the editor need as a story in that? What does the editor need? What do they want from the whole story? And sometimes also finding sources is also tricky when it comes to writing. When it comes to travel writing, that's why you find I wouldn't say even per se in my own journey that there are stories that I've done justice to. Because number one, probably I haven't, looked at all the interesting, like all the people who are involved in that story, probably due to, if the article is time bound, if probably I haven't found any local who wants to probably be on media. Sometimes all these factors affect a story. So it's not usually like the writer does not want to represent this kind of people. There are different factors that really affect us, how a story is told, and all that. Yeah.
Okay, so I hear you that the editor has control of the voice that comes out in travel writing,
Yes.
especially if it is commissioned writing for a specific publication. Then the editor has a say on whose voice is going to be amplified. If it is commissioned, then whoever commissions it or pays for it has a voice on what voices are going to be amplified. Sometimes time limitations also have implication of the voices that are going to be amplified in storytelling. Having said that, and that's where I was coming to the issues of authenticity in travel writing. If we have all this influence in areas of influence yeah, on the story that comes out and the voice that is amplified. Can we say that the stories that we read from travel writers are authentic?
It depends with how you look at it. And it depends who the travel writer has chosen to amplify their voices in the article. I wouldn't just give like a blank statement and say like all travel writers probably are not authentic and stuff. But it's who they choose, who they find actually, because also it depends with who you find as the source. The sources are usually the tricky part because it's usually very hard to find people who one can express themselves, two want to be on media, three also just finding those people, like going out to find those people. It might take money, number one, or um it might take it might take time. And sometimes some of the articles are time bound, you see. So all these factors, like, but I would say that travel writers really, really take time to know who are they going to interview, what do they have, and sometimes um, we are biased towards someone who really can communicate and say exactly what is happening, and at a very like time bound. If that person is really ready to like share the information, and that information we can actually verify that this is factual. Yeah, because we just don't publish. Every article goes through an editorial process, fact checking to find out that this is true or not. So it just doesn't get published without going through all that process. Yes.
Great. Moving us on, I think that launches me into my next question of travel and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And the big question is, has sustainability changed or influenced travel writing? The demand for sustainability, which is a demand for accountability
Mm-hmm.
at all levels, right?
Yes.
Um, I was learning yesterday about financial sustainability in the context of financial accountability,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole world is conscious, everybody's talking sustainability.
Mm.
Has that changed travel writing?
Yes, it has. It's changed travel writing. It's changed even to what the places that we whatever. What stories are we telling? How are we making travelers responsible when they go to destinations? How are we changing even how lodges, camps, hotels are, operating their businesses? And the more travel writers write about such issues, because the media amplifies, these kind of issues. When sustainability issues are on the forefront, when we hold them accountable and we highlight that this is something that they're doing and it's wrong, then it makes people now do the right thing. It makes people give back to locals. It makes travelers themselves, even us, like who were not born into travel into tourism. Like most Africans, like never knew about travel except like probably going to their rural place and coming back. That was all the travel that you know. But as you grow older, now you start knowing, oh, people go for holidays, vacations. Now, how am I supposed to behave in such places? It's not just about me wanting to enjoy being in the place, but I should also care about how I live my environment. Is this place does it adhere to sustainability rules? What is my carbon footprint? Such things. And slowly by slowly, of course, yeah, you can't expect like people who've never been used to these things to just abruptly change. But the effort that people are making to ensure that you know they are they are responsible travelers, I think, yeah, travel writers are doing a good job on that. Yeah.
Okay. Um, are travelers consuming this kind of stories? Are travelers consuming sustainability stories?
Yes, they are. Yeah, yes, they are. And also, it depends with how you tell the story. You can inspire more than be preachy about it. So I find that in travel writing, once you inspire, you probably tell a story of someone, or you tell how a destination has been impacted by people, being responsible about going about it. The more I've found that if you inspire people more, they tend to want to do it. They find a reason to do it. It's like when you're young, when your parents, like most girls were like, oh, don't go outside, don't do this and this and this. But, you always find a reason to go against that don't rule. But when your parent inspires you to do why, and they show you why you should do this, and they give you examples of how many people have done it and their lives are not, okay, then you feel, you find that drive from within. It comes from within, not to do it. So I see that as, yeah, as I see that as a way forward.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a whole different, it's a whole space that is a debate that is open. I think the verdict is open.
Yeah.
Whether travelers are consuming sustainability, um, sustainability in travel writing, how much travel writing is making its way, how much sustainability is finding its way in travel writing. If you look at the top travel magazines of the world, how many stories are covering sustainability? I think it's one of the next things that when we have a conversation, we will talk about. I try to look out that information, and it's very interesting what is out there, and which brings me to my next question to you. Travel writing has been accused of greenwashing, of promoting greenwashing. That because travel writers have the gift of language, they have actually sometimes, I'm not saying this happens with all travel writers, but that sometimes properties have used travel writers to sanitize their activities that are not so responsible and not so green, and made them appear as if they were so green and so responsible to attract a certain type of traveler. To do business with them, either to attract other businesses to do business with them, or to attract travelers to their destinations. What do you have to say about the potential of travel writing being used to sanitize or for greenwashing destinations?
I'd say first, I think the number one factor that contributes to that is, I'd say, ignorance. Ignorance in the sense of travel writers are not, I'm not saying that this is an excuse, but they're not experts in sustainability. But they should learn about sustainability, like all the issues. They should not, it's like going to a bank, a bank teller can be able to identify a fake note that you can't identify, because they have been trained for so long such that they can hold a note like this and know that this is fake. So I'd say when it comes to that, it's just that they're not, I think we should understand that they're not experts. And it's high time that people who know about this, like when they know about sustainability and all these things, they should actually work together with travel writers to know properties that probably are greenwashing, to train them on how to identify properties that are greenwashing, to know all this stuff, other than just bashing them and attacking them and telling them, oh, you guys are doing it. But if people just probably even they could go to a place where there's all this information about how to identify all these things and stuff, then that would be one of the ways to actually avoid all this greenwashing stuff. And as you know, also, all these publications are also in a business, and if 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 that is going to, like, probably the article was an advertisement, and these guys paid money to have that property there, and if they're paying money to do that, and probably you'll find, probably in this publication they write down there that this is an advertised piece. Solely on our it's not solely from our end, and if those guys pay for it, their publication, which probably wouldn't say no to it, they'll just publish because they need money to sustain themselves, especially in this period where media houses are collapsing everywhere. So if all these businesses, which are involved in, sustainability and stuff, if they had the money to also advertise, and ensure that media houses are also not tempted to, you know uh, like, if they can if the sustainable tourism industry proved that it had the money, to actually also sustain media houses, then I think they wouldn't be tempted, for lack of a better word, to actually just go and have, and just get this quick cash that will sustain their businesses. I think also we should also be fair to them in that sense. If we were pumping money in publications, then we had this, you can actually say, you guys are doing this and this and this. But also now there's a balance between that. There's also the ethical way. And for me, not being the owner of publications, I can't. I'm just writing. Yeah.
I think what you're saying politely is that there is a challenge and
Yeah,
the
there is.
potential greenwashing because the media houses, so those who publish, are in a business,
Yes.
right? If a business pays for this space, they will not refuse because they are not in the business of vetting whether this is greenwashing or not. They're in the business of selling space. And
Yes.
somebody buys the space to put what they want to put in there and they need the money, they will
Yes.
take it. So there's a potential that some of the travel writing that is out there that is being consumed by travelers is actually greenwashing.
It is.
There is a possibility for this reason that there are spaces where you can buy and you can get a good travel writer to write exactly what you want, and you will have it published, right?
True. True.
I,
If
I
it's an
know that.
advertisement.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but also this also presents like an opportunity for the sustainability, like for those in the sustainable tourism industry to also venture in media, and have, like, in this age, have also, like, have online travel magazines that advocate for sustainable tourism and all. That's also an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, I see the potential that you're talking about. Michael and Dominic, I think either somebody through Twitter or something is trying to get a link to get to the meeting. You can assist them. They've tried to send me a message. Harriet, we are going to respect your time because I know you had to leave earlier. So I'll ask this question and then I will go on to the chat to get the questions that are there so that you can have a chance to interact with our audience today. We've said travel writing has been changed with the sustainability. I want to know from you at this point how artificial intelligence, there is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
There the whole issues of consent, right? Consent, particularly when it comes to photography,
Yes.
people and place and all these kind of things. How are they changing travel writing? Will we still, I'm back to my question of authenticity. Will we still see authentic writing?
Personally, I don't think we'll ever get to pure authentic writing because of all these factors that are interplayed. And even when it comes to photos themselves, so I know sometimes I've gone to destinations where I know this photo could actually tell the story, but I've been told not to take that photo because the locals don't want that photo taken, so I'm forced to just use other photos that really do not depict that. It's not something that will really represent that place. But since you don't want probably legal issues and you don't want also the people to feel violated, I've just used any other photos. So sometimes even when it comes to it also affects it also affects us. Or sometimes you go to a place and you're trying to interview people and you know you want to get their story out. And these people are like, if you're not giving us money, we are not telling you anything. So how am I supposed to tell this story when these people do not want me? They want money, and my journalistic training says I cannot bribe people to give me stories, you know. So it's just it's really it's a tricky balance. So travel writers cannot wholly be blamed on you guys are not doing it, you guys are not doing a project, because there's all these factors in interplaying with, and you're supposed to deliver a story that is that brings justice to that place. So if you can find voices that can actually represent or probably act just represent the whole thing and bring out the issue wholly, then you always find yourself taking that option. So I wouldn't say we can't reach 100%, but let's say 89, 90. Yes.
90% authentic. I seeing Aisha in the audience, and last time we were talking culture, and that was the same thing. Can we have 100% authentic cultures today? And that's the same dilemma with travel writing as well. What percentage of the story is 100% authentic, or it is a collection of facts and figures over a long period of time, and through AI you can just put them all together and come up with a statement which might not present the reality at that particular time. So what we are saying is that when we consume travel writing, we should make the considerations that you have made us aware of today, and the influences and the factors that affect travel writing.
Yes.
And for those of you who haven't read Harriet's piece, Harriet just wrote a piece on the devastating floods and the implications in the Masai Mara landscape for international media AFAR. Please have a look at it and see whether you can pick aspects of what we are discussing today. See whether you can pick the various voices, because when it comes to conscious writing, we need to see the conscious travel writing today must represent the various voices in the destination, including the voiceless, like the environment. You speak for the environment, you speak for the people, you speak for the business, you speak for the place, not just the property itself, but the surrounding, so that you create a holistic environment around your writing. As we read your writing, we can actually experience the environment that we are working with. The problem is that sometimes when you're writing about beautiful places, like the background that I have today, it's difficult to say that they are poor people who live near those. The story will not sell as a travel story. It will immediately change and become another story. And I know there is no travel magazine that would take a story that has a beautiful beach, like the one in my background. It's artificial. I'm at the coast though. Yeah. Yeah, but if I was to write a story with this beautiful background as the image, and in there say that in this where this beach is also a community that is living in poverty. They got energy poverty, they have water poverty, they have housing poverty, they have infrastructure poverty, they have all sorts of poverty, but they live side by side with pristine beaches like what we have. Immediately, that ceases to be a story for a travel magazine, and it ceases to be a travel story. It becomes a story about other things. And that's why I was asking whether it's really possible to capture the story of place, the complete holistic story of place in a travel piece. Yeah. And you've told us that there are limitations, maybe the amount of words, the time for collecting it, the editor's voice right in there, and all other things, including whether it is paid for and commissioned. As we come to an end, let me ask you these few questions that are there before I come back to my other questions. Julie's, that's a comment. I think the fact that greenwashing and sustainability buzzwords have become something to look out for is testament to how much people are looking for media that addresses this. It's trendy now. Great, yes. Yeah, media that calls it out. I hope that's what you mean, Julie. People are looking out for media that is calling it out. And Doreen says they are curious to know your transition from just writing for the People Daily to other publications, and how was the travel writing landscape then compared to today? The span in 8 years, what changes have you seen in 8 years? Are international publications engaging writers with tourism background only? How was the reception? How was the reception like for you, given that you don't have a tourism background? Did you need to prove yourself to them, or how did you navigate that? Yeah, go ahead.
So let me start with the transition bit. I started with People's Daily, and then it's just your hunger. I started reading a lot of magazines, started reading a lot about both international and local, and that's how I started getting curious to write in publications. You have to know who the editor is, what the character of the magazine is, and know how to pitch. That is also a strong component. Like, you just have to know how to pitch a story, know what a magazine wants, and then once you know who writes where, and then how they write as well. You just can't go and pitch something that the magazine doesn't need, or that's not what they write about. So that's how my transition has been, just in the 8 years and up to now, the international level, and then yeah, as in, you just get curious. It's a desire that is birthing you when you see a magazine, and you know that that's where you want to write. You get to know who works there, how do they write. You just don't go there. How does it work to write there? How do I position myself with my stories to make sure that these people know that I do this work? And that means also you must have also a social media presence where you post your work and stuff. For me, LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter also have also been very key for me to just write, to just post the kind of stories that I write and stuff. I must admit that there are stories that I wish I would write about, but being that, number one, this sometimes is not a very if you look at it that you're not going to get like a high pay from it. It really relies on passion, and also the number of publications, and also the acceptability of that pitch is also something that is, restricts you even as a travel writer. Like, there are a number of stories that I wish I could write, but you see, an editor can reject it. And also, as a Kenyan, as a Kenyan, as a Black person, getting into these publications where it has been predominantly white people, it's really tough. I just say it honestly, but I appreciate the fact that nowadays, at least, publications like international publications and are really recognizing, travel writers from Africa, and also like just working together with them to write such stories, because they are the ones who are on ground, and we also understand issues, we also understand what's happening. So I appreciate that fact that they're coming up slowly. Of course, they won't give you the whole space, and you have to appreciate the little small spaces that they give you. That's why I would also ask you guys, forgive me, and interviews that I feel should be out there.
I hear you.
So
We hear
yes,
you. There
so,
are certain
yes,
limitations as you navigate this space,
mm,
right? And as you find more
yes,
opportunities and find your feet and your grounding, there's much more that you would
yes,
like to write about. Yeah,
yes,
and it is important that we know and hear these things because one of the other challenges of travel writing is that we say that it doesn't tell us everything,
mm,
right? It's not everything about the places.
mm,
It's what needs to be told at a certain time about the places and who wants that information. But yes,
yes.
congratulations. Yes, I think that's what Doreen was saying. You have done well. You are inspiring other people. Doreen is an aspiring writer. She
Oh,
has practiced writing as an STTA Rising Star.
mm,
She has published in the past years in the Young Change Makers, and she's a good writer. I think
oh,
I
nice,
should. The two of you should connect. She just needs a mentor. Uh,
nice,
she's
nice.
she can write well. She can write well. I know she can. And her
Mm,
questions, I just said she wants. She's really interested in that space, and she has given herself to it. Another one for you, and I think this is the last one on the chat, Harriet. I know you're
yeah.
looking at the.
No, it's okay. Uh-huh.
Julie is asking whether you have, curious to know whether you have a niche.
Mm-hmm,
Are you trying to identify your niche in travel writing or not?
mm-hmm.
And then she asked if you find yourself being pigeonholed by international publications into writing about Kenya and Africa only.
So personally, I've chosen not to, for the sake of course, number one, you have to survive.
Mm.
But let me just be honest. And if I say that I will hold on to a specific niche, then that means I will die of starvation at home. So I know my principles, my standards and stuff. There are things, of course, I will never write about, but I have to diversify. You have to diversify. If you want to actually be specific about yourself, probably start a blog and just know yourself as that. Because also sometimes opportunities to write are hard to come by, and these guys sometimes need someone who can write about travel news. You can write about this kind of things, or you can also write about sustainable tourism. Like you have to be versatile when it comes to now looking for opportunities to, if you're set on writing for publications. But if you're set to being a travel blogger, then diversification. Of course, people have to know you for something. And for me, that as long as I always write about issues for travel, like issues in, what is happening here, what is happening here, and 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 just bring it out in a very wholesome way. That's what I've been doing. Yeah, honestly speaking.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do I have any other burning question for Harriet? I'm sorry that our today's session is going to be a little shorter than usual because Harriet got an emergency and she has to leave. But maybe if you're all interested, we can stay behind and just have a conversation
Mm.
around the travel writing. Michael, is there a question, burning question for Harriet from the questions you had received before? Thank you, Julie, for engaging. Sharif, travel writing is about sharing your experience towards your journey while conveying a message of showcasing destination attributes. Thank you, Sharif, for that one. Travel writing is about sharing your, okay. Mm-hmm. I'm just checking if there's anything
Right.
I've missed in the chat, but I don't think I have missed.
Oh, I remember. Someone asked me about being pigeonholed writing about Kenya and Africa.
Yes.
Uh, I think I didn't answer that question, and I'll say it's restricting because sometimes they can't give you an assignment in a place or that you haven't been to, or even if you travel to that place and you notice that this is the issue that is affecting this place, and you have all the necessary things to do that story, sometimes they might reject it. So I would say yes, I find myself pigeonholed sometimes, and into the opportunities that they present. Yeah, they give you. You're just restricted to those opportunities that they give you. Yes.
We talked a little bit about influence of artificial intelligence on travel writing. Do you want to give a one sentence take on that?
On the artificial intelligence, yes,
Yeah.
it's influencing travel writing because, of course, there are people who would not want to do the dirty work of going to the field and getting all these voices and writing and everything. But the thing when it comes now to ChatGPT and everything, but the thing is with publication, they have also applications where they can actually detect whether it's human, like it's a human being who's written this story, or it's a chat GPT. So there are also even as artificial intelligence and technology tries to you know uh, uh, get us away from this and stuff, there's still uh, counter technologies that are coming up even in the journalism space, that are ensuring that it's really humans doing this story, and not AI, or people who want an easy way. But artificial
Okay.
intelligence also helps in research, and you know um and just getting to find easier way to probably process something, or
Yeah.
an easier way to make a complex issue become like a complex issue into a simpler way that people can actually absorb it. Yes, that's like
All
it can
right.
give you an idea. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that. I think the fact that serious media houses will invest in the technology to make sure
Mm,
that the story has been written by a human, and that is
yes.
how we can counter the negative impacts of AI
Mm,
and maybe misrepresentation. If you were to write a timeless content article or a feature story,
mhm.
which one will you choose? Somebody saying which one is best? Timeless content or feature?
Picture stories are timeless, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I love my story. I love picture stories because it goes in depth. And of course, over time, issues change in destination. So I can't say there's a timeless content, because every like a destination changes. Like even a human being does not remain the same.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so you always have to revisit that destination and see what has changed from the article or the video that you produced. So I can't say
Mm.
there's always timeless content, because things change. Like I can write a story today on something, and tomorrow you hear like things have changed. Like it's not the same. Something has happened. Da 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 da. So I can't say there's a timeless piece. You always have
Uh,
to keep on revisiting. That's why I get
okay.
an issue with these people who say, "Oh, I've traveled 121 and all the countries in the world. I know everything." You will never know anything about it. Sometimes even Nairobi confuses you, and you've been
Mhm.
here since you're born.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, places keep changing, and
Yeah.
there's always something new
Mm,
about a place. So you can never explore a place and say that you now know it very well, except if you're born and bred in the place, indigenous people in the
yes.
back and say, yeah, I have seen it change, and so I've been here witnessing every change.
Mm,
So I can also see that there was a question about whether the travel writing has helped Europe in its tourism because
mm,
it receives far more number of tourists than Africa. And I think that is one of the statistics I was trying to come up with for today, but I didn't get my numbers in advance. I wanted to
mhm,
find out the percentage of travel writing globally. How much of travel writing is from Africa and developing countries? That focuses or features African and developing countries and the rest of the world. And I'm sure that a large percentage of travel writing will be featuring some of the developed countries. And
Yes.
if you were here earlier on, whoever asked that question, if you were here earlier on in my opening remarks, my number one slide, when I was giving an overview, we said that yes, travel writing is used in destination marketing and for opening up destinations. So the more people here read about places, the more they're convinced about them, yeah, and they build a confidence around them, and they therefore will travel to those places where
And you,
somebody else has verified for them. But go ahead, Harriet.
and like you said, travel writing began at the end of Second World War. And it's only like recently that Africans have now started taking charge of writing their own stories, you know, showing people their destinations and all. This began there. So that's why it's easier for them to, it's easier for them to travel. It's easier for them to do stuff over there. For us, it's still a process. And we're still learning that you can travel, you can have a vacation and stuff. So I think also that is a major problem, and the fact that travel writing was started there, like, so definitely they will have more tourists and they will have more people traveling. And as you can see, Africa, we still have issues even to travel to from one country to another. So definitely travel is going to be low amongst us. So yeah. Even marketing, like African destination, whatever, boards and stuff, they will use them more than they will use us to write about the destinations. So definitely,
Exactly.
that's
And
why
I
they
think
will come.
that is what should change now.
Yes.
Our marketing, destination marketing organization should use our own people, Africans, to write about Africans and their countries and their people. But we see from that history that because travel writing started at the end of the Second World War, and at that time we didn't have many African countries with people who had gone to school who could write, right?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
been predominantly a profession of the North, but I
Yes.
think it's people like yourselves are changing this landscape to prove that we can have our own bred travel writers to tell the stories of our place. I always say that indigenous people tell stories of their place, right? Anybody else who comes to write about that place is reporting what they
Yes.
have had. They are not telling the story of place. So if we want to tell the stories of Africa and our African destinations, we need people who live in these places to tell the stories of place. Otherwise, we will keep depending on reporting. And then we are the ones who complain that the reporting is biased,
It's
right?
biased, yes.
But we're using somebody else to tell the story. It is bound to be biased. It can't be the story of the place. It's a story that is secondary because this person already has a worldview, and then your story is formed by their worldview because they come from a different value system, and so they will write their story informed by that value system. If you have travel writers from destination, they share the values of the place, and they will tell the stories of the place without another level, without another screen before their story. And that is the difference. And maybe that is why we even there's a limitation, a limit of where people go, because if you get somebody from another country writes about the Mara or writes about South Coast, they will see what is in my bag. They will not see the story of anything else that is beyond there. Yeah, because their worldview of Africa is that it is a destination. It's a place where you go to see what is beautiful only. Yeah, you hear no evil and see no evil. You only see the beauty of the beach, and your business as a traveler is done. I think I don't see any more questions. Do you think that through travel writing can help Kenya and Africa at large minimize seasonality? You can answer that one and then we call it a day. Harriet, do you think
I want
writing?
to start. I want to start also by saying, also travel writing, entails, like, it involves money. So exploring these places, and doing all these things is dependent on the availability of funds. So that also is a limitation by itself, because while of course they can probably have more, their travel writing gives them more money to be able to explore and get into these places, and also, like, for us it's really a struggle to do that. You sometimes have to rely on sponsors and people to get you to these destinations, and it is even worse when they know that it's a local channel. You get more access, you get more response when that story is going probably international than if it's just a local publication. So also that is a limitation to us. But we are getting to that place where we make our own money and go to these places. Don't worry. But okay, so to come to, yeah, it can minimize seasonality. It can, based on when travel writers get to the place, they can also like explore other things, other activities that people can do when they get to these places, other than just, like, let's say the Mara, the season, the wilderness migration and stuff. So yes, it can, based on what people choose to focus on. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we can conclude this conversation and say that there is more opportunity for expression.
Yes.
And so sustainability cannot, the voices, the conscious voices in travel writing have various spaces of expression because of the Internet of Things. We also know that social media has enabled sustainability writing to be amplified. And actually, social media probably addresses what you say, the issue of cost. Social media cuts out on the interest of the director or the commissioning agency or the destination. So social media has actually enabled multiple voices to be presented in travel writing without the limitations that you did express earlier on. I think social media has also enabled higher levels of interaction with conversations and writing. Like you shared, if your article was published like it was in a print media, the one that you've written about the Mara, in a print media somewhere, the interaction that you have gotten from it would be much less. See how much interaction you have received because of social media. And so social media has given sustainability, space and ability, without restrictions to be communicated, to share. The conversations can go far and wide. And it is also immediate. We can communicate things. You can be in a destination and you don't have to get the authority of a magazine to publish it, because you can say, you can communicate and tell the world what you see as you experience it real time. So I think the digital space is an opportunity for sustainable travel writing to overcome many of the barriers that we see in traditional and experience in traditional writing, and which you have expounded very well this afternoon. We also know that traditional writing is limited. It gives you limited space for limited information. But the digital era has opened all this up, and now we can say as much as we can. Even on Twitter with few characters, you can still write several of them and have a thread of it. We've got other platforms that don't have other limitations. So there is no excuse. That's what we are saying in conclusion, why destinations that are truly sustainable cannot use the limitations of travel writing in traditional travel spaces as an excuse for not telling their stories or not communicating around sustainability and continuing with the traditional travel writing that just wants to write about the beauty and luxury of place and not the whole story about the places that we are visiting, that people are visiting today. And so we thank you very much for joining us in this conversation this afternoon. I hope it's been useful for all of us who have been here. If you want to say something to Harriet, you can share it in the comments. I can give 2 minutes to anybody who raises their hand to say something about today's conversation. I'll give the first hand that goes up. I'm counting on 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay, I got Doreen again. Doreen, you have your hand up. You can unmute yourself and you've got 1 minute. And I saw some other hand and it went down. Doreen, maybe you can speak on behalf of the others this afternoon.
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
And I want to say thank you to you, Judy, and STTA for organizing this platform. I think it's not the first time we are having Harriet, but it's always a pleasure listening and learning from her. And I will say that thank you to Harriet for sharing your story and always willing to share insights on the travel writing industry. I will personally reach out and maybe connect with you soon. Thank you and have a good evening.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have yourselves a great evening. Michael, do you want us to take a picture for those who can put their videos on? Or you already did that, Michael?
Yes, please, let's have videos on and we can do a screenshot.
If you can.
If you can.
Have your video. We are asking for your consent. If you can have your video on. Okay.
If you can, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Kepher. Thank you, Dave. Anyone else is brave enough? Thank you, Doreen, for having your video on. Anyone else is brave enough? James, good to see you again. Good to see you. You've been here a few times. Thank you, Cynthia. Good to see you today. Thank you, Chris, Martha, Stacy. There you are. Yeah, good to see you again today. And Dominic. Okay, there you go. Wow, almost all of us. Time is on now. Almost all of us. A few of us were, yeah, we could have done this earlier. Okay, Michael.
Yes, taken. Thank you so much.
Okay, I've got some people who are checking in right now. But we are done for today. We look forward to seeing you next month in our next webinar. Thank you so much, Harriet, for talking to us. We appreciate you can follow Harriet on her social media pages. I think, what's your social media handle, Harriet?
My social media handle is Harriet Owalla on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's Harriet Owalla.
Harriet Owalla. You can follow Harriet. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope I was informative.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
It was a conversation. We enjoyed the conversation very much. We are going to share the recorded link for those who did not manage to join us because we changed the time so that they can also participate in this conversation. Michael is taking this opportunity to invite you to Sustainable Tourism Africa Summit 2024 in Mombasa, Kenya on 13th and 14th of June. You can call Michael on the number on the screen or write to STTA marketing at sttakenya.org. Thank you for now. Have a great evening. Until next time. Bye.